Hey, I'm Dylan at Western Bikeworks, and welcome to lucky number episode 7 of WTFWBW. What's the Fix Western Bikeworks, where we take your questions and we answer them. Technical questions, questions about cycling history, whatever's on your mind, we are your experts. Be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, submit your questions through that medium, through our Facebook page, through Instagram, through Twitter, or via email at askus@westernbikeworks.com. Use the hashtag WTFWBW. Speaking of, we had Dan K, calls himself Hawk, from Cicero, Indiana, 92 years old. He wants to know, are there any tips or tricks for changing your tires for cross season? So say you have a bicycle cross bike that you use for commuting in the summertime. Maybe it has some road tires on there and now you're ready to get muddy, get into some cross racing, gotta swap those tires over. So we're gonna show you how to do that, show you some tips or tricks to make that a lot more efficient. What you're gonna need, a couple tire levers. We have the Pedro tire levers up there. You're gonna need a different tube, because if you had a road style tire on there, that probably took a smaller tube, and whereas in a pinch you could use, say, a 25mm tube in a cross tire, it's gonna force the tube to stretch a lot more, and that's not gonna be very safe. So you're gonna need a larger volume tube to match the diameter of your tire, and of course you're going to need a pump. Floor pump is gonna make it a lot more efficient, and the tire itself. So let's get this thing going. First thing we're gonna do, let all the air out of the tire. So Dan, listen closely. You might want to get closer to your computer, and this is the first tip in order to get tires off. So what you want to do is you want to take the beads of the tire and you want to push them into that trough that's kind of in the center of the rim, because that trough in the center of the rim is the smallest diameter, so that's going to allow you a lot more space to get the tire off. In fact, if you're effective at doing that, check this out. I don't even need to use tire levers. I can just lift the bead up and over the rim. This isn't possible on some tire and rim combinations because they're going to be pretty darn tight, but for this one, that works out. If you need to use tire levers, a couple tricks I would recommend is you can take 2 of those, and I usually put them about 6-8 inches apart. I put both of them in at the same time and then lever them down at the same time. If you put one in, lever it down, and try to get the other one in, gonna be too much tension on the bead and you're never gonna be able to get that other tire lever in there. And tires off. So we have one bead off. We're gonna remove the tube starting opposite the valve, and then remove the valve. And now we're gonna remove the other bead of the tire to get it all the way off. So again, try to put that bead in the center channel of the rim. It's gonna make it much easier to just lift up and over the rim. So tire is off. Now we gotta get our cross tire. Cross tires are very condition specific, can make the difference between having fun at a race and not having much fun at all. So make sure you watch our video where we talk about the different applications, different tread patterns for different course conditions. This is more of a kind of all conditions tire. This is the Continental Cyclo X King in the 35mm size way. This happens to be a folding or a Kevlar bead. Tread direction is also going to be critical. So with our directional arrows on the tire, make sure you abide by them. They may be 2 arrows on there. One that says if you're gonna run it as a front tire, use it like this. If you can use it as a rear tire, use it like that. Check out our video when we talk about tread patterns and how the knobs interact either as a front tire or a rear tire. Another thing we're gonna do is align the label or the hot patch of the tire with the valve on the rim, because that's gonna make it easier to find punctures or foreign objects that cause punctures. It's also kind of a pro style maneuver. So the valve hole's right here. I'm going to center the label on that. We're just going to get one bead on and leave the other bead kind of hanging off. Now get our higher volume tube. You can use the pump to give it a little bit of shape, or I'll just freestyle this. Just put a little bit of air in there to give it some shape. It makes it much easier to get it back in the tire. I know where the valve stem hole is, because that's where I put the label. So we're gonna put the valve in first, make sure it's coming out straight. And now we're gonna start to tuck the tube into the tire. So that's why we gave it some shape, because it makes it much easier to get it in there. Now here's another tip for you, Dan, is what you want to do is push the valve kind of up into the tire, and that's going to give us a little bit more space to get that bead started. And then I'm just going to start at the valve and work around the wheel in opposition. And when we get to this last little piece, sometimes there's a lot of tension. It's difficult to roll that on there. So let's use the technique we used to get the tire off. Just make sure that you're centering the two beads in that center of the rim, that little channel trough there, and that usually makes it much easier. And don't get too ambitious. I just use little sections at a time with my thumbs. Pop that bead on there. Check to make sure that the tire, or the tube rather, isn't sticking out. You don't want that to get pinched and explode when you go to inflate that. So all I should see is rim strip. Kind of check around there. And now we're going to inflate the tire to pressure. Avoid the temptation to use the highest pressure rating on the casing. That's not going to do you any favor, especially in muddy, nasty races. So make sure you check out our video when we talk about pressure and the common misconception that higher pressure means faster rolling. That's not the case. So we're going to inflate that to our recommended pressure. Make sure the valve is coming out straight. Thread the valve, little lock nut close, and you're ready to go. Dan Hawk, by virtue of submitting your question, you are now in the Dennis Hopper in the running for that $50 gift certificate we're going to be giving away here in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching WTFWBW. Be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, submit your questions, get your name in the hopper. Have any questions? Give us a call or visit us at westernbikeworks.com.